asked to recite was 151. You started with 152, but it's fine. It will come back to us, and we'll discuss, because this one tells you what was the Prophet's methodology of teaching. Because after all, this is what we are doing, so it will come back to us. And remember this verse. Maybe you can memorize the ones who do not know already, because this is the foundation of our lecture series. Who is familiar with this verse? Almost all of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
But this one tells you the criterion for getting knowledge from Allah. So before we start, next time we would love to have a nameplate for everybody, right? Just a folder, and it says name and the discipline. Okay, so that's for future, for everyone, so I can recognize them. First, we'll do the orientation. You have heard the term orientation, right?
Yes.
What does orientation mean?
Orientation means welcome to the starting of the lecture. So there will be some it's like a self-introduction. So after that,
Yeah, that's how we know it, right? So this orientation is very important, and it will set the tone. You know, in Islam, which is the only science there is, it is very logical. If someone is not oriented right, he's going to take off in the wrong direction. So I start with the word orientation itself. So first few slides, I'll help you get oriented. The biggest problem modern society has, and you are familiar with this, the first part at least. Secular Muslims, you know secular Muslims, right? They call themselves Muslim, you know, of course, some of them pray even, everything's fine with them, except they think Allah has, you ask them, who is the creator? They said Allah. Who made all the skies and earth and all the stars? So of course Allah made it. Who made the law for it? So of course Allah did. Allah did everything. Without Allah's law, can you have a drop of water? Can you have one leaf move without Allah's order? So of course not. It's following Allah's order, right? Same Muslims, quote unquote, do not believe that Allah has given us any law to govern. You see the disconnection? Allah is governing everything, but for humans, they all of a sudden put humans on earth, no law. So you find your own law, you vote, whatever majority decides, that's fine. This absurd thing. Do you see how absurd it is? It's not logical. But secular Muslims do that. Sadly, all Muslims, literally all, think Allah created laws for everything, right? But Newton, Einstein, all other humans created laws of science. If you ask somebody, I have to make a drone, for instance, where do I go? Nobody will go to Quran or Hadith or the science, real science. They say, let's see, let's Google. Mr. Newton has said this, Mr. Einstein has said this, Mr. Smith has said this. They all look to humans. When they go to school, they study laws. Laws are not supposed to be changing. there should be permanent, only Allah can make laws. Everybody knows that. But when it comes to science, they study Newton's law, Einstein's theory, they study evolution theory, they study everything else, but Quran Hadith is missing. And I say here, that's all, every one of them like that, no exception. So this is the biggest problem in terms of education today. And of course in technology development, that's what we are talking about. So how we characterize that? The separation between science and ilm. Ask anybody, they would know that it's the same thing. Ilm means science. But when it comes to engineering, technology, they do not think it's ilm, it has to be science, quote unquote. Science developed in modern society last 300 years, it's not very old. A Bosnian alim was asked, should he vaccinate? And his reply was, don't ask me, I'm not a doctor. Can you imagine Prophet Muhammad saying that? If you ask him a question, say, go to expert. Did he ever say that Roman Empire is very good? Let's send some of my people to know how to build weapons. Persians are very good in medicine. Let's send some of our people to learn medicine. It's absurd. And it was not like that. Yet, ask anybody, who's the greatest alim? They will say Prophet Muhammad, of course. But alim literally means scientist. But we actually do not believe that. We are just saying it. In our belief, biggest scientist is Newton or Einstein. Some generous one will say, well, Ibn Haytham was a good scientist, Ibn Sina was a good medical doctor, but they will never say that real scientist, the real alim, is Prophet Muhammad, because there is a disconnection. So biggest problem in our society today, worldwide, we don't look to Quran and Sunnah to find answers. When it comes to science and technology, we go to there when we want to find out how to pray or zakat time, when to celebrate Eid, even sometimes how to govern, but not science and technology. It's completely absent. As a result, we have a technological disaster. I'm not saying it, it's a Nobel laureate. Nobel laureate chemist saying that we have a technological disaster. Everybody acknowledges that. By using their theory, they are saying that we are in a mess. And we are looking at them to find what theory we should use, what solution we should get. So today I'm asking you, let's change that. This lecture series is about technology that uses real science, not science with dollar sign. It's not money got science, it's Allah's science. How many of you know how many times ilm has been used? Ilm is science in Quran. More than 800 times. Second most used word in Quran. Whereas we look into science, what we think is science, and they do not know a single word of Quran, let alone practicing it. So it changes today. I'm talking about orientation, literally. So from today onward, we ask question from Quran and Sunnah. Even the word orientation, do you know the meaning? It's a Latin word. And it's sad because rather than saying what is it in Arabic, we're saying what is very easily. Everybody knows orientation. So we have to do backward. Find out first. Orientation means the rising sun, the root word. What the sun has to do with anything? So we know the direction. Orientation is not about familiarizing with anything. Find the direction, which way you go. It's not even about how fast you have to run. Which direction are we going? That's what it is about. In Arabic, it's very clear. Anybody knows this Arabic word? Yeah? What's the first thing you do when you start your prayer? Direction first. If our direction is not, we're not facing the right direction, nothing counts. That's why first thing, why did Islamic scholars, Islamic scientists do so much work finding out what is the direction? Why are they doing all this study of stars and cosmos and all this? Not because they want to send man to the Mars, but to find out which way to pray. That's the most important part. That's the first science we have to look for. Orientation, which direction. I'm asking, is your salah accepted if you are facing the correct, if you are not facing the correct direction, correct way? It's absurd. It doesn't matter how much khushua or how much perfectly tajweed you are doing. If you're not facing the right direction, nothing counts. The first thing. Quran in Surah Mulk, Allah says, anybody can recite that? Yes, go ahead.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أفمن يمشي مكبا على وجهه أهدى أم من يمشي سويا على صراط مستقيم.
See, Allah quite often asks this question to orient you, to guide you. So look, somebody is crawling on his face, right? Somebody is crawling on his face, he's seeing everything upside down. Upward curve is down and downward curve is up for him. Would he be the same as the one who is walking straight? The word is Siratul Mustaqim, the Mustaqim path. Nothing matters if you're not oriented correctly. So with that, I do the first experiment. We'll have many of these experiments. Can somebody pass this on? Please, everybody, this one. So now, if I tell you, thank you so much. If I tell you that that's the passcode for a treasure box that has $1 billion, and you have only one chance. If you fail, it will blow up on you. not only you will not get the money, you will be blown up. If it's correct, then you get $5 billion. Now tell me, what do you see? Which number do you get?
Shall I?
We first ask for the orientation.
You asked for he stole the answer. So do you see that? If I tell you, how many of you see 666? 666, which is a satanic word, by the way. Satanic number. How many of you see 666? You see 6? Okay. How many sees 999?
But the thing is, the first names I packed it as a 666, then I converted it to 9.
Why?
I thought it is a satanic word.
He thought that it should not be satanic, right? You see, this is the problem. This society tells you, whoever pick 666 more, right? Majority, democracy, that's correct. Or 999, majority correct, that's the correct one. But that's not science. Science, as Salahuddin pointed out, science is you ask the creator, who created this? I created, right? I'm telling you this is about. So if you trust me, right? Who told you that you're going to get $5 billion? I did, right? So if you really trust me, you'll ask me, excuse me, how do I read it? Because I don't want to make mistake. If I'm a good guy, I'll tell you. If I'm a bad guy, I'll say, aha, you have to pay me $6 billion so I can tell you the right answer. This is the catch. They always tell you, you pay me money, Roman Catholic Church said the same thing, you tell me, I will give you the knowledge so you can go to heaven. That's not Islam. That's not science. It doesn't go by majority. It doesn't go by anything else. You have more money means nothing. You ask the Creator, orient me please. What is the most important dua? Surah Fatiha, right? This is the mother of all mother of Quran. That's the beginning. What is the first dua we make? Allah, after sucking up to Allah, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin, Ar-Rahman, Rahim, all this. What is the first dua we make? Yes, exactly. So we're living that, but in a religious matter. But when it comes to dunya, we seek everything else. We seek guidance from everybody else but Allah. In every aspect. This is the disconnection we're talking about. So how do you do? We talk to the Creator, we make dua, that's the first thing. Please orient me. Because if you do not orient me, it doesn't matter how fast I'm going. Nothing matters. Because I'm going the wrong direction. If you have a false start, faster you run, more away you are from the real destination. Isn't it true? You're supposed to go that way, and you're moving that way, and you're going very fast. The other is going very slow, but you are going faster to the hell, to the wrong side. What do? We make dua so I go faster. No, you make dua so you're oriented right. Going fast doesn't mean anything unless you are pointing the right direction. Another fact, knowledge is in history. Knowledge of anything, even your name. How do you know? Because you know the history. Your father told you, right? How do you know there's Allah? Again in history, right? Look at Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. He found Allah by himself, right? He has guided himself. You know the history. That's the first inductive logic, if you know the term. inductive logic. First inductive logic was Prophet Ibrahim. You know the story, right? He was looking for Allah and he saw the sun and he felt this must be it. Then sun went down. He said, no, it cannot be. Then moon came out and said, aha, that must be it. Then moon went down and he said, none of them is Allah. So what did he pronounce? Anybody knows that verse? Anyway, he declared that Allah, that he cannot see. So his conclusion became correct. Even though in the beginning he came through observations, it was false. But what was his assumption? Think about it. What was his assumption? Allah cannot be
Removable.
disappearing. It has to be constant. Who taught him that? What made him assume that? It has to be inside. Even a child has it. That's the fundamental difference between any other doctrine, any other philosophy, and Islam. Islam tells you you're born with it. Why is he looking for a creator? Because you're born with it. If he had a wrong assumption, same guy, if he had a wrong assumption, he could very well conclude that sun is God, moon is God. And Allah is not God because you cannot see him. Isn't it true? Nothing was going to stop him. So your first assumption has to be correct. If you do not have both inductive and deductive logic, is the other one, we'll talk about it. Your assumptions had to be correct. If not, you have no way forward. So biggest task I give my students, most important task I give my students, before you study any theory, look for what assumptions they made. Do you see that? Every theory starts with an assumption. We take a classic example of Newton's. Object at rest, object at uniform motion will stay in their original position unless there is an external force. What are the assumptions made? Assumption made is there is an object at rest. Another assumption made, there is an object that is at uniform motion. Third assumption made is there is an external force. Is any of them true? Now it comes to the point we want to know what is true. If it does not exist in nature, it's not true. So just with your normal intellect, if you look around, say, is there anything in motion at rest? Is any object at rest? No. Is there any object at uniform motion? Anything that moves at a uniform speed or velocity or whatever? That's what uniform means. No. Nothing moves at a uniform motion. Is there anything external? No. Not in creation. Only creator is external. All creations are connected. Can anybody say that completely isolated? Even if you make a iron ball and put inside, say, some helium, and you surround it by a completely metallic iron ball, do you think that helium inside is not connected? Absurd. What happens? Come back after a million years, that helium has leaked. That's why they have invented the concept of epsilon, negligible. But scientifically, everything is connected. Is there any spot in the universe? It's not isolated completely. Nothing. That's science. So, identify assumptions and verify if it's logical even. And you'll find out every assumption of every theory, social theory, science, medical theory, engineering theory, every assumption is illogical and false. Not even borderline true. Completely false. And that's why you will be held accountable. Surah Mulk. Anybody has Surah Mulk, verse 10? 67:10. Anybody knows Surah Mulk by heart? Nasma'u aw na'kulu. Yes. The people of hell would be saying that, had you listened or used our akal, would not be in this mess. The akal, we have no excuse. Remember what I said? It has to be logical. So you cannot say, oh, that's the only theory I had in hand. No. It's your job to use your akal and say, this is not logical, man. So if you take the fact that knowledge is in history, who has complete knowledge of everything in history? Who created history?
Allah.
Only Allah. And which book Allah has given us, which source Allah has given us, that has all the knowledge that He wished wanted to have. All necessary knowledge. Just like I gave you the 666 and 999, He has given us, but He has given us the orientation as well, because He's not an oppressor. So it's very logical to say, we have to look to Quran, because it's logical that how else would you know what happened in history? Thank you. You take another word, just as an example. Do you know the word diagnosis? What does it mean to you? Don't read from here, just, you see, go to the doctor, you know, well, I cannot do anything, you have to do the diagnosis. So what do? You do X-ray, you do CT scan, you do whatever, blood test. That's the diagnosis. We do not ever think that what diagnostic tool Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu used. We do not think. Never mind Prophet, what diagnostic tool 50 years ago people used. So look back to the very word diagnostic. You know what it means? To distinguish.
Identifying the diseases.
Identify truth from falsehood.
Or maybe the problems.
Right? So you look at history, diagnosis literally looks at the history and sorts out what is the source of your problem. That's diagnosis. What do you get when you take MRI and X-ray and all this? You don't get anything about history. Remember? You get where? What? You only get present. You got blood test and it found out that you have tuberculosis, right? It doesn't tell you where it came from. And how is it possible that you got overcome by this bacteria? But you think twice if you knew the meaning of the diagnosis. So who can discern, who can differentiate between truth and falsehood better than Furkan? Furkan by definition is the differentiator, the bifurcator. Today's diagnostic tools, and it's true for medical as well as materials, chemicals. Everybody says, you have to find out what is it. Do the analysis. They say MRI, X-ray. By the way, they're the same technique. It's usually developed by one company and then used in other disciplines. For instance, X-ray. What is it? It's a warfare, right? CT scan, blood test, same technique as looking at the what you do in the XRD, looking at the microscopic picture. Titration is nothing different. They're all today's diagnostic tools. What is the ancient diagnostic tool? Do you guys know this? Still valid today. Tongue analysis. I have taken Chinese medicine courses and I have learned that tongue diagnosis. Very accurate. Not only gives you current picture, it gives you the history. How? You look at different sections, it tells you your lung got affected, your liver got affected, so you can actually see how the pathogen, how the yeah.
Simply shares with the wires and it's not clear in camera.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Just
No, it's the full screen.
Oh, past.
it's a picture of a tongue.
Just
You don't have to read. Yeah. Cool. Reading. Is it better?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So, this is an example for every technique that they are trying to sell you. Biggest expense, I noticed that in Afghanistan, the most expensive thing about going to doctor, you guys know this, you can testify, tell me if I'm wrong. Most expensive thing when you go to see a doctor, what does he do? So go take blood test, do X-ray, XRD, or no, not XRD, CT scan, MRI. Isn't it true? And that's the most expensive part. Whereas Allah has given you a technique and the knowledge. It is always there. In old time, doctor would say, stick your tongue out. You are too young for that. Our time when I was young, that's the first thing doctor asked. Stick your tongue out so I can see what's wrong with you. Before even taking temperature. So for every diagnostic tool, there's a natural solution. Now whoever is doing chemistry, you are asked to use XRD. Yes, you are, for instance. You are asked to do titration, XRD, follow standard, follow protocol. For engineers, you follow ASTM. For you, follow ISO standard. Each of them costs money. And I'll give you a simple example. You have a cow, you're a farmer in Nuristan. Is that Nuristan a place?
Yes.
Beautiful place and pristine, nobody touched it. It's not molested, right? So you want a cow in Nuristan and you draw milk with your hand, right? And you collect in a clay pot. Not even aluminum, because aluminum is not natural. Can you call that milk organic milk? No. If you call it, you will go to jail in the West because you are making false claim. What organic milk means? Somebody stamped it organic. And what those guys? All of them, all this standard and organic and all this trademark belong to Israel. So you have to pay money, so your own milk that you hand drew can be certified as organic. This is how oppressive shaitan is. You cannot have your own life. See, this is organic. It's like, remember under the oppressive regime of last 20 years and before that, Afghans were given Bible. They are dropping off Bible in Pushtun. As if Afghans' biggest problem is Quran. All problems will go away if you get Bible. So that's what they're telling you. If you follow their standard, you'll be fine. But you have to pay a lot of money. Remember what I said about this experiment? You pay me money, then I'll give you the code. I will warrant you. That's what it is about. So for every problem, there is a natural solution. And that solution is possibly and definitely is the cheapest. And it's the only one that is beneficial for you. You don't have to buy it. Now, go to that, who is the greatest healer? If you include Allah, of course Allah. After Allah, who was the greatest healer among humans? Prophet. So don't you, as a doctor, shouldn't you see how did he do it? Is that what you learn? No. Modern medicine does not do it. Ever since the colonial era, last 200 years, they have not done it. We become certified doctor because we study anything but Quran and Hadith. Yet, in our history, we know the most longest used medical book was by whom? Ibn Sina. For 800 years, that was a textbook around the globe. 800 years textbook. And what was his qualification? Anybody knows which school Ibn Sina went to?
No.
No school. He was practicing from age 15. He was writing books on medical. Where did he get his knowledge? People don't think. First thing he did, he memorized Quran. Second thing he did is memorized Hadith. Third thing he did, how to think with Quran and Hadith. That's all he did. And his book was the longest used medical book in history. So never mind Prophet Muhammad, even among your own people, you see examples, and these are the signs that we ignore. That Quran and Hadith made you famous in dunya and akhirah both. And we want to make money by doing only dunya. Another word, we did diagnosis, we're looking at another word, physics. We talked about it before. Physics comes from the word natural things. It's the science of nature. According to them, physics is not the Arabic word, it's not the Persian word. According to them, it's natural. Which physics you know today, that is the physics of nature? None. None. We talk about biggest marvels of physics. What are they? Spaceship, computer, everything else. Everything is artificial, 100%, not even 99%, not even 99.9%. It's 100% artificial. Artificial is not natural, is it? Now comes the word. What is natural? People always play games. It's everywhere. If you ask an Arab, what is tayyib? Anybody knows what is tayyib?
طيب.
Yes.
Yeah, it means
Halal and tayyiba, right? We have to eat halal and tayyib. What's tayyib? Oh, clean? Yeah, that's pretty close.
Pure.
Yeah.
pure. Those things that is not harmful for health.
Yes, you're looking at the science part of it. Ask an Arab, any Arab. This is how tayyib means tasty. See how name got changed. So they are calling physics, but it's not physics. It's the science of artificial. It's not science of nature. Everything got changed. So now, the root meaning of the word natural is birth, nature, quality. Qualities that you have by birth. You see how scientific it is? Every nation had a prophet. So that's why ancient words were correct. Anything wrong with that definition? Natural means from birth. So Allah created you with fitra, right? Fitra is the natural part. But not in Christianity, only in Islam. What does Christianity say? You're born sinner. You know this, right? You're born bad. And that's why in Christianity, if a child dies, goes to hell, because he's not baptized. You know, what happens to a child who is dead as a child in Islam? Goes to heaven, right?
Yes.
Exactly opposite. So you say, well, that's Christianity, it's a religious thing, but how is science? You know, you heard of genetic theory? They talk about bad gene. They talk about criminal gene. And you believe that nonsense. So yeah, I'm studying gene. As a matter of fact, in medical science or in scientific studies, you take great pride. What did you study? I studied genetic, molecular genetics or genetic theories. And we were very proud. Not once thinking, what was the assumption of genetic theory? Right? Nobody questioned the assumptions. Yet, it's very clear. Even if you go by their definition, it's false. Now, how it gets twisted around, like tayyib is tasty. Modern meaning of natural child, for instance. You know who is the natural child? According to their definition, a bastard. Before marriage, if you have a child, it's called natural child. Exactly opposite to what Quran says. What Islam says, Prophet was natural. He was on fitra, like a child. Now, what is artificial? According to their definition, artificial. What is artificial in Arabic?
Masnu'i.
Is in Quran?
Sana.
Is it in Quran?
We have the word in Arabic, tasana.
صنع لبوس لكم. I got it. When Quran was talking about King David, Prophet David.
It's artificial?
Like صنع لبوس لكم. Like he made Allah, I mean, sana is related to Allah, that He made it for you.
Sana.
That's not, you are translating man-made, right? It's not man-created. You see, I did not make it, I did not make this, none of this, right? But I created the notion that, this is 6666 or 999. That's my creation, but none of this matter was created by me, and they are all artificial, by the way. It's man-made. So when it comes to man-made, remember this verse. Or 119. Surah Nisa 119. Shaitan promised that I am going to mislead. Shaitan cannot create anything. But he will mislead humans who would be inspired to change the fitra. That's the beginning. That's the source of all artificial. Why is it artificial? Because it does not exist in nature. What is intelligence? Oh, it's the same, sorry. Oh, we did not have, but let's look at what is intelligence in Arabic.
Zakawat.
Zaki, intelligent.
Yes, but what is the scientific meaning of that?
Small.